The whistle shrieked, slicing through the roar of the crowd, and Adrian Cole's heart stopped. He stood frozen on the edge of the soccer field, his cleats sinking into the damp grass, as his twin brother's voice echoed in his mind. "I told Coach you're gay." In that moment, the world he'd built, captain of the Crestwood College soccer team, star striker, hometown hero, crumbled like dry leaves underfoot. Adrian's green eyes darted to the sidelines, where Coach Hargrove's steely gaze met his. The man's lips were a thin line, his clipboard clutched like a verdict. Yesterday, Adrian had been untouchable, leading Crestwood to a 3-0 victory. Today, after his twin brother Ethan's betrayal, he was benched, his captain's armband stripped, and his future on the team hanging by a thread. Crestwood, a small college town in Ohio, was not kind to those who stood out. Adrian had known this since he was a kid, hiding his truth behind easy smiles and perfect penalty kicks. He and Ethan, identical twins with mirror image features, dark hair, sharp cheekbones, athletic builds, had always been a package deal. They were the Cole brothers, unstoppable on the field, adored by their small community. But Ethan, with his reckless charm and need for attention, had always pushed boundaries Adrian preferred to avoid. When Adrian confided in him about his feelings for Lucas, a barista at the local coffee shop, he thought he was safe. He thought family meant trust. He was wrong. The locker room that afternoon was a battlefield of whispers. "Coach says he's a distraction now," one teammate muttered. "Can't have that kind of drama," another added, avoiding Adrian's eyes. The team he'd led for 2 years, the guys he'd laughed with, bled with, now treated him like a stranger. Adrian's fists clenched as he shoved his gear into his duffel bag, the sting of exclusion sharper than any tackle he'd ever taken. Lucas was waiting for him outside the athletic center, leaning against a lamppost with a paper cup of coffee in hand. At 22, Lucas was everything Adrian wasn't. Open, unapologetic, with warm brown eyes that seemed to hold the sun. His curly hair caught the late afternoon light, and his gray sweater hugged his frame just enough to make Adrian's chest ache. "You okay?" Lucas asked, his voice soft but steady. Adrian forced a smile, but it cracked at the edges. "Ethan told Coach. They benched me. Said I'm not focused anymore." Lucas's jaw tightened, and he stepped closer, his hand brushing Adrian's arm. "Your brother's an idiot. And Coach? He's just scared of what he doesn't understand. You're still the best damn striker they've got." Adrian wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at his core. Soccer was his life, his ticket out of Crestwood, his shot at a pro career. Without it, who was he? He glanced at Lucas, whose quiet strength felt like an anchor, and wondered if love was worth this cost. That night, Adrian sat on the edge of his dorm bed, staring at his phone. Ethan's text glowed on the screen. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I was just joking with Coach." A joke. Adrian's entire world appended for a laugh. He typed a reply, then deleted it. What could he say to the brother who'd shared his face, but never his heart? The next morning, practice was brutal. Coach Hargrove ran drills like a drill sergeant, barking orders while keeping Adrian on the sidelines. "Focus, boys. We've got the regional finals in 2 weeks," he shouted, his eyes sliding past Adrian. Teammates avoided him, their camaraderie replaced by awkward glances. Only Jamal, the team's goalkeeper and Adrian's oldest friend, lingered after practice. "They're wrong, you know," Jamal said, tossing a water bottle to Adrian. "You're still our guy? Coach is just playing it safe, 'cause he's getting heat from the boosters." Adrian caught the bottle, his throat tight. "Boosters don't care about my game. They care about their image of me." "Then show 'em who you are," Jamal said, clapping a hand on his shoulder. "On and off the field." Adrian nodded, but the weight of it all, Ethan's betrayal, the team's rejection, the pressure of the upcoming finals, felt like a storm he couldn't outrun. He thought of Lucas, of the way his smile made the world feel lighter, and decided he wasn't ready to give up. Not on soccer. Not on himself. Lucas's coffee shop, the Daily Grind, was a haven of warm lights and the rich scent of roasted beans. Adrian slipped inside that evening, the bell above the door chiming softly. Lucas was behind the counter, his apron dusted with flour, his smile brightening when he saw Adrian. "You look like you need a double shot," he teased, already reaching for a cup. "I need more than that," Adrian muttered, sliding onto a stool. The shop was quiet, save for a few students typing on laptops. Lucas leaned across the counter, his fingers brushing Adrian's as he slid a steaming latte his way. "Talk to me," Lucas said, his voice low, intimate. Adrian hesitated, then let it spill. Ethan's betrayal, the team's cold shoulder, the fear that his dream of going pro was slipping away. Lucas listened, his eyes never leaving Adrian's, his presence a steady calm against Adrian's storm. "You don't have to hide who you are to be great," Lucas said when Adrian finished. "You're not just a soccer player, Adrian. You're you. And that's enough." The words hit harder than Adrian expected. He'd spent years compartmentalizing, soccer star on the field, dutiful son at home, closeted brother to Ethan. Lucas was the first person who saw all of him and didn't flinch. Their moment was interrupted by the door swinging open. Ethan strode in, his face a mix of defiance and guilt. Adrian's stomach twisted. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice sharp. "I need to talk," Ethan said, glancing at Lucas, who raised an eyebrow but stayed silent. "Alone?" "No," Adrian said firmly. "You don't get to dictate terms after what you did." Ethan's jaw clenched, but he didn't back down. "I didn't think Coach would bench you. I was just, I don't know, trying to shake things up. You've always been so perfect, Adrian. I thought maybe." "Maybe what?" Adrian snapped, standing now. "That outing me would make you feel bigger? You cost me my spot, Ethan. My team." Ethan's eyes flickered with something. Regret, maybe, or shame. "I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean for it to go this far." Lucas stepped around the counter, his presence a quiet warning. "You should go," he told Ethan, his tone calm but firm. Ethan hesitated, then nodded and left, the bell chiming in his wake. Adrian sank back onto the stool, his hands shaking. Lucas reached for him, his touch grounding. "You don't owe him forgiveness," Lucas said. "Not yet. Maybe not ever." That night, Adrian lay awake, replaying Ethan's words. He thought of their childhood, shared birthdays, shared secrets, shared dreams. Ethan had always been the wild card, the one who pushed limits while Adrian played it safe. But this wasn't pushing limits. This was sabotage. The next day, Adrian showed up to practice early, determined to prove himself. Coach Hargrove was already there, setting up cones. "Cole," he said gruffly, "you're on drills today. Don't expect special treatment." "I don't," Adrian replied, meeting his gaze. "I just want to play." He threw himself into the drills, his body moving on instinct, dribbling, passing, shooting with precision. His teammates noticed, their wariness softening as he outran and outplayed them. Jamal grinned from the goalpost, giving him a nod. But Coach's expression remained unreadable. After practice, Adrian found a note taped to his locker. "Meet me at the field tonight. 8 p.m. Coach." His heart raced. Was this a chance to redeem himself or another blow waiting to land? The field was empty under the floodlights, the air crisp with the scent of grass and autumn. Adrian arrived at 7:55, his nerves electric. Coach Hargrove stood at the center line, his arms crossed. "Cole," he began, his voice low. "I'm not here to apologize. I benched you because the boosters were breathing down my neck. They heard rumors, got nervous about team image. I made a call." Adrian's jaw tightened. "A bad one." "Maybe," Coach admitted, surprising him. "You're our best player. But this town, it's got its ways. People talk. They judge." "So you judged me too," Adrian said, his voice steady despite the anger simmering beneath. Coach sighed, rubbing his neck. "I'm giving you a shot to prove me wrong. Scrimmage tomorrow. You're starting. Don't screw it up." Adrian nodded, his heart pounding with a mix of relief and pressure. This was his chance, but it came with a spotlight brighter than ever. He told Lucas about it over dinner at a small diner on the edge of town. Lucas's smile was wide, his hand warm over Adrian's on the table. "You're gonna kill it," he said. "Show them what you're made of." The scrimmage was brutal. The opposing team, a rival college from across the state, played dirty, targeting Adrian with hard tackles and sly comments. "Heard you're not so tough anymore," one sneered after knocking him down. Adrian gritted his teeth, got up, and scored the next goal with a blistering shot that left the keeper stunned. The crowd roared, and for the first time in days, he felt like himself again. But Ethan was in the stands, his presence a shadow Adrian couldn't shake. After the game, which Crestwood won 2-1, Ethan approached him outside the locker room. "You were amazing," he said, his voice tentative. Adrian didn't respond, brushing past him. Forgiveness wasn't a switch he could flip. Not yet. The regional finals loomed closer, and with them, the chance to secure a spot in the Nationals, a dream Adrian had chased since high school. But the team's dynamic was still fractured. Some players rallied behind him, inspired by his performance, while others kept their distance, swayed by the town's whispers. Lucas became his refuge. They spent evenings walking through Crestwood's park, hands linked, talking about everything: soccer, dreams, the future. "I want to leave this place," Adrian confessed one night, the stars bright above them. "Go somewhere I can just be me." Lucas squeezed his hand. "You will, and I'll be there, cheering you on." The words carried Adrian through the next week of grueling practices. Coach pushed him harder than ever, but there was a new respect in his eyes. Jamal and a few others started closing ranks around Adrian, shutting down the locker room gossip. Slowly, the team began to feel like a team again. But the night before the finals, Ethan showed up at Adrian's dorm, his face pale. "I got a call," he said, "from a scout. They're coming to the game tomorrow. For you." Adrian's heart skipped. A scout. A shot at the pros. But Ethan's presence tainted the news. "Why are you telling me this?" Adrian asked. "Because I owe you," Ethan said, his voice breaking. "I messed up, Adrian. I'm trying to make it right." Adrian didn't know if he could trust him. But as he lay awake that night, Lucas's words echoed in his mind. "You're enough." Tomorrow, he'd play for himself, for Lucas, for the future he wanted. Not for Ethan. Not for Coach. Not for Crestwood. The morning of the regional finals dawned cold and clear, the sky a sharp blue over Crestwood Stadium. Adrian woke with a fire in his chest, the kind that had fueled him through countless games. Today wasn't just about winning. It was about reclaiming his place, his identity, his future. Lucas was there before the game, waiting outside the locker room with a coffee and a smile that made Adrian's nerves settle. "You've got this," Lucas said, pulling him into a quick, fierce hug. "Play like you, and no one can stop you." The locker room buzzed with tension. Coach Hargrove gave a terse pep talk, his eyes lingering on Adrian. "Cole, you're leading the charge today. Don't let me down." Adrian nodded, slipping on his captain's armband, returned to him after the scrimmage. His teammates clapped him on the back, some with genuine warmth, others with cautious respect. Jamal grinned. "Let's do this, Cap." The game was a war. The opposing team, the Dayton Hawks, was relentless, their defense a wall of muscle and speed. Adrian took hit after hit, his body aching, but his focus razor-sharp. In the first half, he set up a goal for Jamal's younger brother, Malik, who hooped in triumph. The score was 1-0 at halftime, but Dayton came back swinging, tying it up with a penalty kick. Adrian felt the scouts' eyes on him from the stands, a weight heavier than the game itself. Every move, every pass, every shot was a test. He caught sight of Ethan in the crowd, his twin's face unreadable, and pushed the distraction away. This wasn't about Ethan. In the second half, Adrian found his rhythm. He weaved through defenders, his feet dancing with the ball, and fired a shot that grazed the crossbar. The crowd gasped, then cheered. Lucas's voice cut through the noise, shouting his name, and Adrian's heart surged. With 10 minutes left, the score was still 1-1. Dayton's captain, a hulking guy with a mean streak, targeted Adrian with a vicious tackle, sending him sprawling. Pain shot through his ankle, but he stood, ignoring the burn. Coach's voice rang out, "Cole, stay sharp." Adrian stayed sharp. In the final minute, he saw an opening, a gap in Dayton's defense. He sprinted, ball at his feet, heart pounding. The keeper lunged as Adrian shot, the ball soaring in a perfect arc, hitting the net with a satisfying thud. The stadium erupted. 2-1, Crestwood won. The team swarmed him, Jamal lifting him off the ground, Malik whooping. Even Coach cracked a rare smile. But Adrian's eyes found Lucas in the stands, his grin brighter than the floodlights. After the game, the scout approached, a wiry man in a navy blazer, his handshake firm. "Adrian Cole, right? I'm with the Columbus crew. We're interested. Let's talk." Adrian's breath caught. This was it. The dream he'd feared was lost. He glanced at Ethan, who stood at a distance, watching. Their eyes met, and for a moment, Adrian saw the brother he used to know. But he turned away, back to the scout, back to his future. The high of the win carried Adrian through the next few days, but the rift with Ethan lingered like a bruise. The scout's interest was a lifeline. a chance to escape Crestwood's small-minded whispers and build a life on his terms. But every step forward felt tethered to the past. Ethan's betrayal, the team's initial rejection, the weight of being seen. Lucas was his constant. They met at the park the evening after the game, the air cool and the leaves crunching underfoot. Lucas's hand found Adrian's, their fingers lacing together as they walked. "You were incredible out there," Lucas said, his voice warm. "I knew you'd show them." Adrian smiled, but it was tinged with exhaustion. "I keep thinking about Ethan. Why he did it. If I can ever trust him again." Lucas stopped, turning to face him. "You don't have to decide that now. He hurt you, Adrian. That's real. But you're stronger than his mistakes." Adrian pulled Lucas close, their foreheads touching, the world fading to just the two of them. "I don't know what I'd do without you," he whispered. "You'd still be a badass," Lucas teased, kissing him softly. "But I'm glad I'm here." The next week was a whirlwind. The Columbus crew invited Adrian for a tryout, a 2-day intensive in their training facility. Coach Hargrove pulled him aside before he left. "You've got a real shot, Cole. Don't let anyone, not your brother, not this town, make you doubt that." The tryout was grueling, a test of skill, speed, and endurance. Adrian poured everything into it, his body moving with the precision he'd honed over years. The coaches watched, scribbling notes, their faces unreadable. On the second day, they pulled him aside. "We're offering you a spot on the reserve team," the head coach said. "It's not first string, but it's a start. You in?" Adrian's heart soared. "I'm in." Back in Crestwood, he told Lucas first, the two of them celebrating with cheap pizza and laughter in Lucas's tiny apartment. "You're gonna be a star," Lucas said, his eyes shining. "And I'm gonna be your loudest fan." But Ethan was still a shadow. He showed up at Adrian's dorm a few days later, his expression hesitant. "I heard about the crew," he said. "I'm proud of you." Adrian studied him, searching for the brother he'd once trusted. "Why'd you do it, Ethan?" "Really?" Ethan looked away, his voice low. "I was jealous. You were always the better one, on the field, with people. I thought maybe if I shook you up, I'd feel like I mattered." The honesty stung, but it was a start. "You matter," Adrian said quietly. "But you broke something. I don't know if we can fix it." Ethan nodded, his eyes wet. "I'll keep trying." Months later, Adrian stood on the edge of a new life. The Columbus Crew's training facility was a world away from Crestwood's small stadium, all sleek lines and professional energy. He'd signed the contract, moved into a modest apartment, and started training with the reserve team. Every day was a challenge, but it was his challenge, earned through sweat and resilience. Lucas had followed him to Columbus, taking a job at a local cafe while studying graphic design. They built a life together, late-night talks, lazy Sunday mornings, stolen kisses before practice. Adrian felt free in a way he never had in Crestwood, unburdened by the need to hide. The team welcomed him, not as a symbol or a scandal, but as a player. His teammates were a mix of veterans and rookies, each with their own stories, and Adrian found a camaraderie he hadn't known he'd missed. He trained harder than ever, driven by the knowledge that he was exactly where he belonged. Ethan reached out sporadically, sending texts or calling to check in. Adrian responded cautiously, the wounds still fresh but healing. One day, Ethan sent a package, a photo of them as kids, grinning on a soccer field, with a note. "I'm still your brother. I'm still trying." Adrian kept the photo on his desk, a reminder of what they'd been and what they might be again. The biggest game of his life wasn't on a field. It was the moment he realized he didn't need Crestwood's approval, or Ethan's, or even coaches. It was standing in his apartment with Lucas, the two of them laughing over a spilled coffee, and knowing he'd fought for this happiness. It was walking into training every day, not as a secret or a scandal, but as Adrian Cole, player, partner, person. At his first reserve team match, Lucas was in the stands, cheering louder than anyone. Adrian scored the winning goal, a clean, powerful shot that echoed the one from the regional finals. As the crowd roared, he looked to Lucas, their eyes meeting across the distance. This was the victory that mattered. Not just the goal, but the life he'd built, the love he'd claimed, the truth he'd embraced. Crestwood had tried to define him, to bench him, to break him. But Adrian had won, not by hiding, but by standing tall. And as he jogged off the field, Lucas's voice ringing in his ears, he knew this was only the beginning.